Thanksgiving, that time of year where we gather together with family and stereotypically see family that we don't see throughout the year, and invariably discussions come up. Politics, who you voted for or didn't vote for, whether you voted at all, what's going on with the economy and the world, whether you have a perspective on this war or that war. How do we approach all this? First of all, approach it in prayer. Pray ahead of Thanksgiving ask the Lord to give you wisdom and guidance and meekness and gentleness and strength, all of these things held together to love your neighbor, which this Thanksgiving is probably your family. And secondly, this is an opportunity to realize that there is an art to be acquired of eloquence that can help in these situations. The practical application of fitting words rhetoric, the art of eloquence, the art of learning to be persuasive, is not to prove your uncle right or wrong, to not prove your point about this or that, but to end in a better relationship with those around you. To persuade people, perhaps, is involved, but most of all, to be effective in your communication to them. And so, let me just run you through three of the most important takeaways that a student of fitting words, classical rhetoric, would walk away with. And that is learning the three modes of persuasion. Pathos, the appeal to emotion. We all know that one. Ethos, the appeal to authority. And logos, the appeal to reason. And we all know that one. And there's understanding where people are and who they are and how they're coming and which modes of persuasion affect them more. For example, let me hit a stereotype. Liberals are generally more affected by pathos. They make emotional arguments and win people to their side through emotional pleas. Conservatives are stereotypically persuaded or use especially logos, appeal to reason. So what we have here are two competing things. The conservative will, again, this is a stereotype, but that stereotypes often reflect a larger reality. The conservative will say, here are the facts. And the liberal says, you're heartless. Look at the kids. The kids, the starving kid in Africa, or the, how can you be so heartless about this or that issue? And so one person is calling the other heartless, and the other one person is calling the other person wrong. They're talking past each other. So a good rhetorician, rhetoric is especially defined as a good man speaking well, is recognizing who your audience is and meeting them where they are in order to move them to action, to move them to action. And that action may not be a cause. Action can be fellowship. It can be persuading them of your perspective or gently moving them along, becoming less adversarial, but having a real result. So understanding who you're talking to is a very, very important part of rhetoric. And we study that. We study the differences between people, between old and young, between men and women, between you can culturally, I grew up in France and I've studied the differences between European and American culture over the years, understanding where people are coming from. Or do they come from an Eastern mindset that emphasizes honor and shame, or an American mindset, a more Roman mindset that emphasizes right and wrong and the legal aspects, or a Southern society that tends to aspects of fear and power as the dynamics that influence them and the categories they think in. These are all important things to understand when you're dealing with your Uncle Bob, who is on the other side of just about every issue. So learn rhetoric, learn it for yourself, teach it to your kids. The formal study of rhetoric is often overlooked because people think that they will kind of naturally acquire it if they learn logic. That's not the case. One of the worst things you can do is only learn logic and not rhetoric. That's like giving a little kid a hammer before he's mature enough to understand what to build. So look into fitting words, classical rhetoric for you and your family.